Privacy and security are ultimately public policy domains. In preparation for public policy debate and determination, the landscape must be framed in the sometimes unpleasant realities of current technology and practice that call out for industry challenges, government responsibilities, and revised expectations going forward. Publicly airing these realities may arouse skepticism among some, strike panic among others, and prompt just a ho-hum reaction from still others. Advocates of the status quo attempt to convince us that privacy fears are unwarranted and misplaced. Victims of the OPM cyber attack might argue otherwise. Dealing with the stresses surrounding privacy and security, where privacy is the freedom and ability to reveal oneself selectively, and security is the condition of being protected against danger or loss. We find that both are reasonable goals, but on a collision course nevertheless. Is it possible to have both privacy and security? Whereas cybersecurity is reasoned about in terms of trust in systems, the collision between privacy and security revolves around trust in people. Here the question is one of civility, where civility is comprised of the sacrifices one makes for others. For example, are businesses and the public willing to sacrifice privacy by sharing encryption keys with government? Or are government and law enforcement willing to sacrifice access to encrypted data and information? The slow-walking investigation of the Hillary Clinton email and server suggests a politicalization of the same federal agencies involved in the data encryption key controversy, where trust in the people in government is lacking. This leaves trust in systems to reliably manage a government data encryption key database, bringing to mind again the OPM attack and the failure of government systems. The need for disruptive cybersecurity is no more apparent than the signature Department of Homeland Security's remedy for cybersecurity, termed Continuous Diagnostics and Mitigation, CDM, now being adopted by OPM and other government agencies. In essence, CDM provides a routine inventory of network assets intended to answer the questions: what devices are connected to the internet, and who are the people operating these devices? Just how does CDM prevent a future OPM cyber attack? So much more is needed. The problem with CDM is that its value is limited to post-cyber attack. CDM does not deliver basic security in the form of protection against danger or loss. What is needed is disruptive cybersecurity. Data encryption is an example of disruptive cybersecurity. We know this because industry and government are in conflict over who controls the data encryption keys. The direction of this issue is consequential to privacy and security. Even more disruptive, though, is an organization policy not to use the internet for proprietary information it cannot afford to lose. These measures are aimed at protecting against danger or loss, and actually do so. And then there is this: privacy is inexorably linked to cybersecurity. Here, the minimum cybersecurity practice set includes the following: don't use the internet for data and information you can't afford to lose. Adopt three-factor authentication. Adopt data encryption. When it comes to cybersecurity, it's not about money, and it's not about Silicon Valley cafe amenities and automation. More broadly, it's about know-how and will in meeting industry challenges and accepting government responsibilities. Industry challenges demand renovating the rotten core of the software profession and its cybersecurity practice, and shifting the onus for privacy and security from supplier to consumer. Government responsibilities include removing government obstacles to consumer self-help, and unleashing new cyber weapons for privacy and security governance. The way forward calls for adopting new and useful cyber expectations for both industry and government. Industry challenge number 1. Renovate the rotten core of the software profession and its cybersecurity practice. The software situation in 2015 can only be described as dire. The increasing dependence of industry and government on an insecure internet infrastructure built on an immature software profession whose promise exceeds its delivery has now become a source of risk that teeters at the tipping point. The convergence of software, national security, and global competitiveness interactions and their fragile dependencies are capable of unleashing a destructive synergy of propagating and cascading effects, impacting privacy and security. Simply put, the core of this apple is rotten. There is a lack of software engineering discipline in practice. Instead, there is a high tolerance for technical debt. Technical debt is the organizational, project, or engineering neglect of known good practice that can result in persistent public, user, customer, staff, reputation, or financial cost. Of course, technical debt stems from a combination of ignorance, neglect, and even the intentional deferment of effort. Beyond the dire software situation and high tolerance for technical debt, industry engages in freewheeling claims of unproven privacy in its public statements of privacy policy. Industry challenge number 2. Shift the onus for privacy and security from supplier to consumer. Eliminate unchecked free riders whose presence attracts cyber attacks, where some individuals in a population either consume more than their fair share of common resource or pay less than their fair share of the cost of a common resource. The common resource under consideration here is the internet, where the minimum cybersecurity practice set includes the following. Don't use the internet for data and information you can't afford to lose. Adopt 3-factor authentication. What you are, what you know, and what you have. Adopt data encryption. Private encryption, not key escrow or split key. Eliminate the practice of technical debt. Adopt cleanroom software engineering. There is the need for a rigorously defined cleanroom method and process to produce a provably correct clean system, one whose method possesses the means to investigate legitimacy, confirm intent and wherewithal of the people, verify process execution, and validate outcomes achieved in determining that a legitimate cleanroom was in place and operation, and one whose outcome is based on trusted software engineering principles and practices in producing provably correct software components. In addition, adopt the next generation software engineering. In accordance with the austerity of the times, the immediate goal of practical next generation software engineering is to drive systems and software engineering to do more with less fast, using smart and trusted technologies. Government responsibility number 1. Remove government obstacles to consumer self-help. The following government-imposed obstacles are highlighted here. Provide industry with indemnification to enable data and information sharing. Permit industry unfettered use of private encryption. Tied to cyber insurance and the need for actuarial information, the government needs to concede to indemnifying industry in order to encourage data and information sharing by industry partners. The government needs to accept and encourage private encryption and not hold out for key escrow and split key encryption. Data encryption contested by government and slow to be adopted by industry lies at the intersection of privacy and security. Basically, plain text is information that is input to a coding process. Clear text is information that is immediately understandable to a human being without additional processing. And ciphertext is the output of an encryption process, featuring an algorithm that makes plain text information unreadable to anyone except those who possess a unique key. To combat crime and terrorism, the government wants access to these unique encryption keys in order to return ciphertext to clear text and its readable plain text form. Industry and its consumers and users object to any sharing of encryption keys on privacy and security grounds. Government responsibility number 2. Unleash new cyber weapons for privacy and security governance. In addition to providing industry with indemnification to enable data and information sharing and unfettered use of private encryption, it is the government responsibility to impose fines for neglectful cybersecurity practice, enable cyber insurance with enhanced data and information sharing and actuarial data, prosecute false claims in privacy policies. A cyber fine imposed on the victim of cyber incident is straightforward, since neglectful and unprepared organizations serve as an attraction to cyber bad actors and their actions. These unready organizations make the internet less safe for everyone. While fines may appear punitive, they actually operate as tough love measures that encourage organizations to take the prudent measures known to be effective in order to improve the landscape for all. The uncertainties associated with a useful and credible cybersecurity market are wide-ranging and depend on cyber security theory and foundations, reduction of theory to practice, the collection and use of empirical practice data, the validation of actual practices against the theory based on empirical data, information sharing, realistic premium setting, informed and trustworthy coverage, and straightforward dollar convertible cyber consequences. These uncertainties have not yet been reduced to calculated risks. The result of a shifting definition of privacy and immature privacy practices, and uncontrolled internet infrastructure and unproven cybersecurity practices and free riders in a free-spirited internet culture has led to frivolous privacy policy assertions, promises, and commitments that border on false claims. The unproven state of cybersecurity protection is well known by the experts in the field and less known and accepted by industry executives. An enterprise whose privacy policy commitments are not matched by a capability to meet the commitments that's made is presenting itself in a false light, and where done knowingly is guilty of actual malice. The way forward: adopt new cyber expectations for both industry and government. The following markers of cyber expectation are recommended. Eliminate unchecked free riders whose presence attracts cyber attacks. Don't use the internet for data and information you can't afford to lose. Expect fines for neglectful cybersecurity practice. Expect the use of three-factor authentication. Expect the use of unfettered data encryption. Expect to be prosecuted for false claims assertions in privacy policies. Provide industry with indemnification and expect data and information sharing. Expect industry partners to purchase cyber insurance as actuarial data improves. Expect zero tolerance for technical debt, defects, and deferment of effort. Expect adoption of clean room software engineering. Expect adoption of next generation software engineering. In conclusion, with an internet that is neither private nor secure, we need to renovate the rotten core of the software profession and its cybersecurity practice. Shift the focus for privacy and security from supplier to consumer. Remove government obstacles to consumer self-help. Unleash new cyber weapons for privacy and security governance. Adopt new and useful cyber expectations for both industry and government. Are there any questions? Here is my contact information. I would be happy to receive questions and have discussions with people on this important subject.